Hey, all my fantasy football friends. This is Tony, Stosh on Sleeper, coming at you from the Multiple First Football channel on YouTube. It is Tuesday, March 22nd. Today we're going to talk about some news. We got our friend Greg, the Velociraptor, coming at you to discuss things. Got a great show lined up for you today. How you feeling today, Greg?
Excited as always, Tony. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, thanks for joining us again, man. We loved having you. We got a lot of positive feedback.
Anytime. Always a good discussion.
Yeah, we really got into it last week. We had a nice long one, and maybe we can keep it a bit shorter today, but we will see. All right.
We'll try, but with you and me, I don't know.
You're right. First thing on the docket, Matt Ryan was traded for a third-round pick. The Falcons are eating his whole contract to send him away. Talk about an act of loyalty from the team. How do you feel about this Matt Ryan deal?
Yeah, it's good for Matt Ryan. It's good for the Colts skill position players, I think. I mean, it's certainly better than losing Wentz and having nothing. I really think Wentz, Baker, Ryan are all kind of in the same tier as far as supporting assets. And it's still going to be a run first team, right? So
yeah.
But they fixed the problem. He's a reliable guy. It's probably an upgrade for him, although there's not going to be a lot of volume there, right? So it's good for Pittman. Don't you think?
Yeah, I like this for Michael Pittman. It's certainly better than, the haze that came after the Wentz trade. If you were a Pittman owner, you just didn't know what to do. You were just scared. You thought the bottom might have fell out this guy. But, yeah, Ryan delivers an accurate football, and he's always going to look to use his receivers because he can't run. So it has to be good for Pittman. He can also carve up a defense with his mind. So as long as Pittman's running the right route, it should be good for him.
Yeah, and if he picks up a few more third downs, maybe slightly positive for JT, right? What do you think about the secondary receivers there?
Well, T.Y. Hilton has been on my mind a little bit lately. First of all, do you think he's going to play? And secondly, do you care if he does play?
I don't know and know. The name there that's been a little more on my mind is Paris Campbell.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, gosh, this was a guy I remember 3 years ago. We were like, oh, do you like Paris Campbell with Andrew Luck, which he never played a snap with, or do you like DK Metcalf? And there was a whole lot of Paris Campbell in it. Yeah. So this was an electric, talented guy who has not been able to stay healthy. And I'd rather take a guy like that than a guy who's not been able to get on the field for skill reasons. So I think there's some interest there for me as a secondary target, acquiring him in some dynasty leagues. Where I have space, I'm not going to prioritize him, but yeah, I'm interested.
He's someone you might be able to just throw in the back end of a trade. You're talking about someone like, yeah, okay, I like this deal. Why don't you just throw me Paris Campbell in there, and then we'll call it, we'll close on it there. He's kind of not a guy who's going to command a lot of value in a trade. You could probably get him in the 20-plus round of your startup. I got his numbers,
especially at this time of year. Yeah. Oh yeah.
34 receptions for the career of Paris Campbell in 3 professional seasons. Rough.
I mean, how many games played is this?
15 games played.
In 3 years?
Yeah.
What are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but they're not done with him. He's going into a walk year, right? He's going to year 4. Guys sometimes, okay, this is like, I got to go work out all off season, stay healthy. And if I go win the wide receiver 2 or even 3 job, I'm going to make $10 million a year from now, right? So, yeah, he's a guy I'm looking to stash, especially at this time of year, right? Because this is a time of year, and something we'll probably touch on later, when running backs are risky to own, whereas wide receivers the offseason is all about they can fall into opportunities. Running backs, it's all they can fall into competition. So yeah, I would like to own him as opposed to an older injury away running back at the back of my roster. I'm interested.
What do you think about Julio? We think Julio's maybe going to land there. What would you say the percentage chance that the Colts land Julio Jones?
Well, it makes too much sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes too much sense. Julio's not a 1. Pittman is better than Julio, so he wouldn't have to be the 1. Campbell can be the take the top off guy. The familiarity, it really fits a need. It feels like it fits a need for Julio, for the Colts, for Matt Ryan. But you never know. Like the wide receiver market is also getting thin, which I know we'll discuss a little bit later on. So there could be a market for Julio too, right? There could be some competition out there. So I don't know what the chances are, but it is a landing spot that would make me like Julio as a rental asset.
Yeah,
a decent bit. Like especially in a PPR deeper league, I got 3 wide receivers and 3 flex spots. I could see Julio making himself an every week start as the wide receiver 2 in Indy. Picking up those 3rd and 6s for them.
Yeah, I like that take. There's a couple teams that are going to be turning over rocks, looking for weapons. The Browns come to mind. But if I'm Julio, I definitely am just calling up Jim Irsay saying, hey, let's schedule a meeting. Let's talk about what I might be able to bring to your table, what kind of money you're interested in putting in the table. But yeah.
Definitely. Depending on what other calls he's already gotten.
Next big free agent move we have, or the big news of the week, is we have Jameis Winston. The losers of the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes and the New Orleans Saints. They signed Jameis to, I believe it's a 2-year contract. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about Jameis returning to NOLA?
I have always been a little bullish on Jameis and a little bullish on him in New Orleans. I also, everybody's like Sean Payton's gone, but that the offense they just promoted, or they kept the same offensive coordinator, right? Pete Carmichael. So he's been the number 2 there for something like 10 years. He's been Payton's number 2 on offense for a long time.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to change the scheme. He's worked with Drew Brees for a long time. Jameis has familiarity there, and both sides liked each other, right? I don't think the fact that they pursued Watson is really an indictment on their feelings on Jameis. So of all of these second-tier guys, he's the one who, you could see he's still starting there in 6 years, and they've fixed him. And he could also throw 25 interceptions this year, and this is the last time you ever see him as a starter. He's wildly unpredictable in terms of this outcome, but I like the bet here. I like the bet the Saints are making, and I'd bet on it in Dynasty.
Yeah, $14 million. If Jameis plays to his ceiling, and you get his ceiling in terms of not throwing picks with it, but 30+ touchdowns with sub 20 picks. If he could do something like that for your team, 4,000 yards, and you get that for $14 million, that's a tremendous value. So that's the risk they're taking here. I like it for New Orleans. I'm just hoping he's okay without Peyton. It's just so hard to imagine this Saints team without Sean Payton at the helm. He's been there for so long. It's going to be exciting to watch the Saints and see what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, he's obviously coming off the injury. But I kind of like this for Michael Thomas. I kind of like this for Alvin Kamara. It's a solid base for their key skill position players.
Yeah, I agree. This is gonna make you feel safer to draft a Thomas or a Kamara because you know that this guy can at least run the offense. With that in mind, you think Taysom Hill is a comfortable cut in your Superflex league right now? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't have any shares of him.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't want any shares of him. I mean, obviously, if a league is deep enough, it depends on who you're cutting him for. But
Sure.
yeah, that's not an asset I'm particularly interested in. In redraft, I think Michael Thomas obviously is a sleeper, but I think even Alvin Kamara might be a really undervalued asset in redraft right about now. I could see him putting up a better season than he's going to have any year after this. I could see him having that his last top 5 season this year with Jameis, with Michael Thomas back to take off some pressure, pick up some first downs. And without a lot of good receiving options out there, beyond Thomas, I could see Kamara having a big PPR season.
Absolutely. This is a guy who's never finished outside the top 10 in PPR, even as a 2017. I think he was a 4th round pick out of Tennessee. Never once has even missing some games in 2019. Never finished out of the top 10 in PPR in Kamara. I love the talent of Kamara. I fell in love with this guy immediately when he came out. But there's a number I want to bring up when it comes to these vet running backs. Since we have one here, I'll touch on it. But so Kamara's got about 1,300 career touches on his body. It's some napkin math. It's right around that 1,200, 1,300 mark. And the wall, in my opinion, the number I'm always looking for with these vet guys is right around 1,500, 1,500. Once they start to get over that mark, it's really they're probably dead soon for fantasy. And so when you're saying that he could have one more really good season left in him, like an elite season, I buy that. I believe that. And he is discounted, I think, in redraft and dynasty both. With he's probably facing a suspension after that, domestic violence
absolutely.
charge. Yeah,
I could see you getting him in the second round, with a 2-game suspension off the top or something. It's probably not going to be more than 2 games. I mean, it's just a bar fight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could easily see that kind of outcome where you get him in the late second, you get top 5 pick value out of him. Yeah, so I'm definitely excited about that. You talk about 1,500 touches. Where are we at on Derrick Henry? I'm wondering.
The D train. Let's look him up.
Yeah,
he's got to be up there, man. Geez, 3, 4, 5, 8, 11, 70 plus 200 more. So what is that, like
1370? Yeah, so we're looking at same kind of deal. There's another guy who might be a little bit of a redraft buy for me. He's under 1,500. I could see one more very big year out of this guy. I mean, 247 is a bit of an outlier, right? So you wouldn't be totally shocked if he lasted a bit longer, like an Alvin Kamara. Like an Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, I like to think the size of the back will adjust that number a little bit. Like Henry, he's a load, so he's probably got a little over 1,500 in him. I could see him getting to that 1,700, 1,800 mark. We were talking about Todd Gurley the other day, and when Gurley was cut by the Rams, the day he was cut by the Rams, he was like just a shade over that 1,500 mark. He was like 1,510 career touches for the Rams. They cut him. He had about 200 more touches in Atlanta, and now he's done. I mean, he's stick a fork in him. I don't know if Gurley's ever going to touch the rock in the NFL again. And that's what we're talking about with that 1,500 number as being pretty scary. But
that's that is pretty scary. Let's see. Nick Chubb on that number still has about 400 or 500 touches left. He might last a bit
longer than you think. Yeah, he's someone maybe people are kind of fading because of that 26-year-old age, but in reality, he may have 2 really high productive seasons left in him. Nick Chubb is the epitome of a win now asset in my mind in Dynasty. I really think he's if you have him on your team, you're trying for it. And if you're not trying for it and you have him, you need to get off of him because he's still worth a lot. He should be very productive.
Yeah, but he's also a guy I might try to pivot to if I had a guy like Kamara or if I had a guy like Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
I might try to pivot to a Nick Chubb, figuring I'll get about the same this year, and I'll be sitting on a better asset in a year.
Yeah, you think if you had Cook, you could maybe tier down. I think most people say it's a tier down to Chubb, and maybe get Chubb plus for Cook. You think that's a trade you could probably pull off in a league?
Well, the age difference, I might even be willing to throw in a late second to make that pivot
with Cook in order to obtain Chubb.
Yeah, I actually where I have Cook, I have trouble selling him. He's older, man. He's an older running back, right? So, but the perception on Chubb is that he's also an older running back, to a certain extent. So, yeah, that would be something I'd be interested in. Or, if I had Derrick Henry, even if I had, any of these older Kamara, Chubb is a guy I'd be targeting. Pivoting back to the Jameis signing, is there anybody else in New Orleans you're interested in, like Troutman, or secondary receivers?
I've always had
they signed someone?
I've always had a soft spot for Troutman. I mean, there was a little groundswell of hype around him last year. I'm an Ohio guy, and he's from Dayton, so that's right down the road from me. If you didn't know that, I like how he graded out as a high blocking value tight end. I see it with Troutman. It's sad he didn't do anything. So if I had to pick one of all the secondaries, then I'm still taking my shots on Troutman for sure.
Yeah, especially you're in a 2 tight end league or a tight end premium league with enough flexes and enough premium where you're flexing those tight end 2s. I could see a lot of value in Troutman for almost no offseason acquisition cost. The final quarterback move that we had this week was Mariota. So what do you make of that one?
I think this is clearly a sign that they're probably going to draft someone still. That's what I'm taking away from this. As far as at the quarterback position, I think.
Why do you say that?
Just no one in their right mind is signing Marcus Mariota to be their long-term starter, right? I mean, this is.
Well, no. Nobody in their right mind is signing Marcus Mariota to be their long-term starter.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? But maybe they don't like this class, right? Like if I were in a position as an NFL GM where I had a high pick and something fell apart with my quarterback, right? Like my I don't know. I'm the Packers GM. No, not them. The Bucs GM, and my quarterback retires, and he doesn't come back. Whatever it is, I am not touching this class. I'm going to try to get somebody else to buy my pick. I'm going to buy a 20. I'm going to try to trade down. I'm trying to get a 23 first, and I'm going to go into that class. And so then, if I'm in that position, in the meantime, I think Mariota for 1 year is fine. Right, so he's clearly a placeholder. Yeah. I don't think he's a guarantee that he's a placeholder for this year's rookie. Then they could just play him a year and then try to fix it next offseason.
Yeah, you're right. I'm probably misreading that a little bit. There's no certainty or probability. They have so many holes on their roster in Atlanta, just across the entire roster, that it would almost be wasting a pick to take a quarterback. I mean, they need everything, and if they want to just give it a year, let some of their bad contracts expire, start accumulating cap space, accumulating talent across the board. He's fine to have just kind of piloting your ship. Assuming he starts 16 games, you think he finishes inside the top 24 at quarterbacks this year with his rushing upside and whatnot?
Yeah, first of all, that's 75% of the quarterbacks do that, right? And so then But this is what makes all the starting quarterbacks valuable. In a 12-team league, there's not enough for everybody to have 3. This is why I don't play in any 2 quarterback leagues. It's all super flex, right? Because you can't even have a backup for everybody. So, I think Mariota, with his rushing upside, has every chance to be a back-end quarterback too, right? Somebody's going to have a terrible season. Somebody's going to get hurt. Some of the young quarterbacks will struggle, right? There are a bunch of other teams out there who have worse quarterbacks than Mariota. They're just young, right? Like is Trevor Lawrence better than Marcus Mariota yet? I don't know. Or any of last year's quarterbacks better than Mariota yet? I don't know. Probably Mac Jones. I don't know about any of the other ones, right? I'd rather have Davis Mills than Marcus Mariota because there's the long-term upside, right? But I think Mariota's a better quarterback than Mills right now.
Yeah.
So I think he probably finishes in the top 24. Probably. This was an intentional signing. The head coach, Arthur Smith, was the offensive coordinator in Tennessee when he was there for a while. So he knows what he's getting. I think he's a top 24 quarterback, and it's probably too late now, but I think if you went out and got him, you're pretty happy. If he's your 3, that was a cheap way to get you a 3. If he's your 2, you're getting by. If he's your 4, I'm trading him right now.
Sure. Yeah, I like him as a quarterback 3. If I have 2 quality locked-in starters, then Mariota's my 3. I'm fine just throwing him in there for a bye week, throwing him in for an injury to one of my main guys. He's the definition of what I want in a spot start at the quarterback position, because he's got that rushing upside where it's like, oh, Marcus Mariota had 2 rushing touchdowns this week. What do you know? And it just kind of blew up. And you always have that upside when you throw him in your lineup.
Yeah. But let's just say you have a roster that's real deep at receiver, and it's solid at running back, and you're benching good guys every week. And then you've got, I don't know, Burrow and Mariota, and you don't have a third. Maybe your third was Jimmy G, and he doesn't have a job yet. And you don't want to go out and spend a lot on a quarterback. I think you can get by with Mariota as your 2 with a good one and be just fine.
I agree with you. I do. So the big guy that's on everyone's mind related to this signing has got to be Kyle Pitts. What are we doing with Kyle Pitts now? I mean, this is a downgrade at quarterback from Matt Ryan, right? At least from a passing perspective. There's not a whole lot going on in other pass catchers on the team to really take pressure off Pitts. Do you still see Pitts as the Dynasty tight end 1? Did you before?
Yeah.
And what are you doing?
I mean,
with Pitts right now?
I did. Listen, I did. I did, but I thought he was overvalued before.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the gap between him and Mark Andrews should have been way lower. Right? Like, Mark Andrews has done it over and over and over again. And so, yeah, the ceiling with Pitts is ridiculous, right? But, Mark Andrews put up a 50-point game playoffs last year, right? So this is the guy with a ceiling too. So I did have Pitts as the Dynasty 1. I still have Pitts as the Dynasty 1. I don't think this really hurts his Dynasty value. If anything, this gets me a little more into the Pitts market.
Because he's maybe cheaper to acquire now.
Because he may be a touch cheaper to acquire.
Yeah.
Like, especially if he was on a contending team and you've got, like, George Kittle. Maybe you're trying to make a Kittle in something offer. Right? Because I think this, like, really hurts his redraft value. I think people were out there ready to take him as the redraft 1, 2, 3. And I'm so out on that. I'm so very out on that. He's down in the Hawkins tier.
Yeah. And you're not going to get him there because someone in your redraft league is probably going to be, hyped up to take Kyle Pitts in the 3rd round or something. Just a little too early. But I made a trade to get Pitts. I'm going to bring it up. You can look at it real quick. But I sent the 102 rookie and the 112 rookie and Mitch Trubisky to acquire Kyle Pitts. And this trade
in a Superflex?
Yeah, in a Superflex. And this trade just processed last night. I sent it while I was laying in bed, and I woke up to it completed. Little context behind the trade is my team is way overloaded on picks and players, and I need some roster spots. So to get taller was the goal.
Fine. I think you're overpaid a touch, maybe, but I don't mind it. I mean, I think
it is tight end premium. This is Superflex tight end premium.
Yeah. I mean, you either gave up the top running back or the top quarterback in the class, and another first that will be, I'm assuming, a wide receiver 2 prospect, and you gave up a back end starting quarterback.
Yeah, I'm less in love with this after it completed than when I sent it. Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm going to be hoping Brees goes 101, because if this 102 ends up being Brees, then I would feel pretty bad about this trade, I think. But
or Malik Willis, right? Like, so what you hope is that Brees and Malik Willis don't both land in places where you end up with two hot prospects, then you're going to hate this.
Yeah.
If ends up being a big drop off between 101 and 102, then you're going to come out fine. But at the same time, we all have those spots where you got to make space. We all have those spots where we've done so well that you've got to go 3 for 1 and take 80 cents on the dollar to get some spaces, because there's a draft coming up and you'll have to do less than 80 cents on the dollar if you draft everybody and are over your roster limit by 3 spots, right? You'll end up cutting guys or trading guys for 10 cents on the dollar. So you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, this team also had no tight end. I mean, my previous tight end was Troutman that I started most games last year in a tank fest. So this is me saying I got to get taller and I just attack the best player at that position.
Yeah, I mean, you get your guys, right? Like, he's not my guy. I don't get the first round startup value on a guy who hasn't shown it yet. But like, there's a part of me that feels like it's a little like Juju's first round startup value. But I mean, he's also a ridiculous prospect at the position, and he just did have a great season. So yeah, I see it.
What are we doing with Cordell Patterson after Marcus Mariota's coming to town? How do we feel about him? Does his touchdown upside go down?
I'm buying, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm buying. Yeah, this is what I would like. His value, his perceived value is going to go way down, but does his actual value go down?
No, he's gonna. I like his hybrid role. He's a yardage machine, and I personally don't think his touchdown upside goes down that much. Maybe, and that's why you would buy it, is it probably seems like it would, but his touchdown upside is all wrapped into his own talent with the ball in his hand, and he's the poor man's Debo. This guy is a beast, just out there in space. So I like Cordero. If I could send off maybe a late 3rd round pick on a competitive roster to acquire Cordero, I would love to do that right now. I think Cordero's in line for some good games. I mean, he kind of died down the stretch last year, but he might start off this season just as hot as he did last year again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that he took a discount to go there, which apparently is what he said. He took a discount to go back because he appreciated the way he was used. Like, I feel like he knows something. Does it make any sense at all for them to go signing any like serious running backs, or like are they in a position in their rebuilding cycle where they're gonna draft a running back with good draft capital or spend free agent? It doesn't make any sense to me, right? So, I'm a guy who does not like to hold running backs in the offseason.
Yeah.
I build light at running back. I don't hold a lot of running backs. I just pulled up a team. I've been playing around with the auction format, so I did an auction startup last week. I came away with J.K. Dobbins, Michael Carter, J.D. McKissick, and those are the only running backs on my roster, right? And I will go add a bunch of injury away guys later. This is how I like to play it, right? And so to me, running backs where I feel like the price merits the purchase at this point in the year are rare, and I kind of feel that way about Cordero. He's a guy I'll put on my rosters, and if I feel strong at all my flex spots with wide receivers and strong at running back 1, and I have to put a guy like Cordero in as my running back 2 every week, I'm fine with that. You can win that way. So he's a guy I will be buying right now for insurance purposes. For a 303, like if you've got that kind of pick, you can get Cordero for that. I'm buying.
Yeah, and the multiple tag thing for Cordero has always jumped out at me. That's why I had him rostered in a few leagues entering this past breakout season. Is like a lot of leagues you play and start 3 or 4 receivers. So to be able to throw this guy, who I would classify him as a running back, to be able to throw him in your wide receiver starting spot is kind of a cheat code. It can be hard to muster up that third receiver most weeks. So if I can throw Cordero in there and have all that upside, heck yeah, man. that's awesome to have that baked into his value profile.
Absolutely. Let's see. Going around the league at quarterback, what do you think about Mitch Trubisky? Now that Jameis and Mariota have gone, like, where do you think his value is relative to some of these other guys, and what would you want for him?
Yeah, that Pitts trade I made earlier featured him, and the core of that deal was me. I own a lot of Trubisky shares. I was someone who every time I saw someone cut him throughout the last 12 months, I was just picking him up the next day. I immediately would go in there and put a claim in. I always thought he would get a secondary job as a starter, but Trubisky is really interesting right now. If he were to make it through the NFL draft with no competition,
Mm-hmm.
how big is that for him? It's he would take a big jump up in my mind if that were to happen. If Pittsburgh were to not draft a quarterback.
I don't know, man. I'm real high on next year's quarterback class.
Sure.
So I'm of the opinion that a lot of these guys may just be getting a 1 year stay of execution, and then he's got to play his way into a job. So it would get a bump, but I'd still feel like it's a 1 year job until he plays his way into an extension, right? He signed a 2 year deal, right? Mariota did, Jameis did, right? So all these guys are either a patch, or they'll get an extension next offseason, probably before free agency, right? If they have a Pro Bowl season, they'll get a 3 year deal. They won't play them on their final year of their deal.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Right. So, yeah, I think, and then they've got the big draft coming up next year where I really think you're going to see another 5 quarterback first round.
Really? Okay. I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah, I mean, oh gosh, the kid from Boston College who hurt himself this year, I kind of think he'll sneak back in. Yeah, it's the usual group of guys who have a good profile that you see in a normal draft, who one or two of these guys are going to rise, and that's like on top of a pretty locked in 101, 102, right? So I really think you're going to see by the end of the day 4 to 5 guys making it in there, and as legit prospects. So I do think teams are going to be targeting next year's draft. So for me, if I have 4, I'm trading Trubisky. If I have 4, I'm trading Mariota. If I have 4, I'm trading Matt Ryan. Because I think all these guys are at risk next year. If I could get a 201 in a super flex, I kind of like that. Maybe try to get a 1, but I think you're going to have a hard time. But yeah, I think you're right. The value goes down if you hold him through the draft and they take 1.
And that's the risk you're taking with him right now. Is he could see a nice spike, or he could if Malik Willis falls right down the board to 20 and the Steelers take him, that's no one's trading for Trubisky at that point. We're all just waiting for him to get supplanted.
Yeah, I mean, well, somebody else, they'll offer you the 208, or because I need 5 starts at the beginning of the season. Let's see, running backs. What do you make of Fournette?
I love Leonard Fournette. I was buying him up a lot last year. I'm happy he's returning. He's going to be just valuable again. I mean, where do you think he should be going in a Superflex startup where he's locked in 3 years under contract? Sure, only one of them's with Brady, but we saw what he did in that offense. He took out, by the second half of last year, he removed any sense of timeshare. He said, I am the lead dog here, and that his talent is what made that happen. So I have to expect that's going to be the case again, where he's just going to come in with a high snap percentage. And I mean, I'm looking at his targets. He's catching 5 or 6 passes a game. He's a house. His touchdown upside, it's all there for Fournette. I mean, Fournette over under RB10 in PPR this season. I mean, that would be my question.
Better than that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's under, right? Like I think he's a borderline first round startup pick. Not startup pick. No.
A redraft.
First round redraft pick.
Yeah, like single QB redraft.
Borderline first round redraft.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, even in 2 QB redraft, he's borderline. I really like Leonard Fournette for 1 year. Man, I don't. If you acquire him in Dynasty, I think you have to expect his value is a time bomb that just explodes at the trade deadline, right? Like whatever he is worth the day before your trade deadline in your league, if you have one, right? Like whether that's at the playoffs or before that. As soon as that passes and you're looking at 2023 value and everybody assumes Brady will retire, like, man, I think he's worth a third at that point. You know what I mean? Like,
he's worth like a third of what he was prior. Like it just falls
no,
off
I
the
mean
cliff.
I'm in a third round pick.
Yeah. But whereas right now he might be worth a late first or a high second.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So like I don't want to own him, but he's a good asset. That's how I feel about Leonard Fournette right now. I don't own any shares.
Way to put it. Yeah.
I don't own any share. I play so light at running back in Dynasty.
Same.
But like, I think a guy who is less sexy, who I would rather pay less for, and I think get similar return is James Conner. Right now, if I were looking to rent a back end RB1 for this year, that's the name I like a little better. But if Conner wasn't available in my league, Fournette is a guy I would definitely consider. Okay, there's a guy I might pivot to if I were the Dalvin Cook owner looking to get out too, because I think Fournette, people are still going to be a little sketchy on his value. What do you think about Keyshawn Vaughn?
Yeah, I like Vaughn. I mean, not that I like him. He's going to be this very productive asset, but I've consistently picked him up in a few startups in the sub 15th round, and down there to get a guy who has third round draft capital, is playing next to Tom Brady, elite offensive line, and then he's an injury away from a starting job if Fournette goes down. I'm personally thinking Rojo's going to leave. That's just what I think. It's hard for me to see them sign both running backs. And we saw Vaughn get more involved down the stretch last year. We did. He was involved in the playoff game. I think they had 2 playoff games, right? Yeah, and then his snap share really upticked in the last 4 games of the season.
Yep, I think he's a playable asset. I think he is one of the injury away backs I'm most interested in. I got so many shares of him. I didn't draft any of them, but he is the guy who every time I saw a cut for the last 2 years, and there were a lot, I was gobbling him up, making some space for him.
Yeah, we're not people who are truthers who took him at the end of our rookie first round 2 years ago.
No.
We're saying he's going to bounce back finally. We're guys who are saying, hey, he's really, really cheap, and that upside he packs relative to his price is
crucially.
I like that right now.
It's the same coaching staff that drafted him too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You got to watch that. When the coaching staff turns over, guys are just their draft capital does not matter anymore, right? But this is Bruce Arians took him on day 2, right? And so,
and isn't Arians notorious for not using his rookie RBs, to just kind of have them end of the bench, and then he works them in more into his second year? I feel like I've heard that or read that about Arians.
I feel like that was a narrative until David Johnson blew up.
Okay.
And I feel like that was a narrative during David Johnson's rookie season. We've never seen Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians never uses his rookies like this, right? The other, I think, free agent move this week that was real big was Penny back to Seattle.
Yeah.
Is that his job, you think?
I think so. It seems like Pete Carroll doesn't like Travis Homer and DJ Dallas. Those are the depth guys in play. I personally think Homer has good talent, and then Chris Carson is the name that come to mind. I kind of write him off because of his injury history. This guy has been banged up, man. I mean, he only played 4 games last year. I expect nothing from Chris Carson, to be honest. Anything you get from him is kind of sprinkles. Yeah, go ahead.
So you don't see that as a timeshare if Carson is healthy to play?
I think it opens the season as a timeshare, and then I think Carson goes down, and then Penny gets a workhorse role.
And then Penny goes down.
Yeah.
Then Penny goes down, right? Yeah,
and that could happen.
But I like this as a as a 1-year prove it deal for Penny too. I think he's needs 1 year with a lot of carries to go earn himself a 2 or 3 year starting gig somewhere. But man, that is a talented running back, and I am happy to have him in a few spots. Again, this is like Keyshawn Vaughn. Rashad Penny is a guy I would grab off the waiver wire and hold pretty tenaciously over time. So yeah, I've got quite a number of shares of him, and I think you'll get running back 2 numbers out of him.
What's your temperature on Seattle adding a running back in like the first 4 or 5 rounds? A guy who they're drafting to come in and contribute. Do you think they may do that, or do you think they're just content? Think they pass on RB entirely in the draft?
So Seattle is one of the teams that could decide they're not real competitive this year. And if they do that, then you probably don't take a running back.
Yeah.
They definitely, but if they go after the best remaining quarterbacks and try to win with running and defense and driving the bus, you could easily see that they have extra draft capital this year from the Russell Wilson trade. But man, that is a team with a lot of holes. There's a team with a lot of holes on both sides of the trenches. So, I mean, if I were building that team, I wouldn't do it, but they might. I need to move on here to something I want to crow about here. Last time we recorded, you asked me to preach about how much I hated the Chase Edmonds signing, and I said they're gonna sign somebody and it's gonna be a 3-headed monster, and you're not gonna be able to play anybody. And then the next day, they sign Raheem Mostert, and Mostert with the familiarity with the McDaniel system, how that happens. Guys move places, and then coaches move places, and they bring a bunch of the backups or free agent cast-offs from the old spot. Mostert's going to get first and second down work if he's healthy. Edmonds couldn't take that work if Mostert goes down, but Edmonds has trouble staying healthy. Myles Gaskin is not a nothing player. That's not a dynamic offense. It has a decent number of receiving talents. I don't know who you like there that isn't Waddle or Tua in a super flex as a quarterback too. Or Gesicki in a 2 tight end league. All these guys are going to just cannibalize each other on a mediocre offense, and the backfield is going to be a mess. It would have been so much better if they just drafted Breece Hall in the second round and given him 25 touches a game. Right?
Yeah, I think we all would have preferred that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
But I'm looking at their RB depth chart. It's on Sleeper. It says Edmonds, Mostert, Phillip Lindsay, Myles Gaskin. I
believe Lindsay's 3.
Is he?
But yeah, they could bring him back.
Is Malcolm Brown still there? That's the guy in my mind.
No, he's free too.
Okay.
Salvan Ahmed has shown a little bit. He's still there. I think he's the 4th. I think they still have Patrick Laird, who's a fullback who catches passes and touches the ball. I mean, they got a lot of guys. None of them are great. It's going to be like San Francisco, but worse.
I personally don't expect Mostert to make it through training camp. I mean, either an injury takes the rest of his season, or I'm pretty sure his deal is framed where it's like almost no guaranteed money. And the Dolphins may just see how the draft goes and then cut bait from Mostert in late July.
But it tells you about the desire, right? Like a guy who I think is a better Mostert is like Rojo.
Yes, I love that comment.
A younger Mostert, right? Mm-hmm. Like that would do the same thing. And they probably don't want to pay him, right? But or in the draft, it's just not going to be Edmonds. It's not going to be Edmonds and Gaskin. It's not going to be Edmonds on first and second down. It's not an offense where I want the satellite back. I think that it's not an offense where I want a first and second down only back who doesn't catch passes, whoever that is. Like I just don't want anybody in that backfield now. It's gonna be gross.
We talked about Rojo, so the big free agent remaining running backs are Ronald Jones, Sony Michel, Melvin Gordon. All 3 of those guys haven't signed, and the big landing spots we have for these guys lined up: Houston, Atlanta, Kansas City. Any marriages there that you like, where you would say if he goes there, I'm in on that?
I'm in on whoever Kansas City signs.
Sure.
I I don't think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is very good. Man, I think he is living on draft capital. I could see Jerick McKinnon going back there and just taking the job from him. And Jerick McKinnon is not as good as Melvin Gordon or Sony Michel.
The fall from grace for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, I'm looking around at different draft boards around the league. I've been looking at like 10 plus of them lately, different friends drafts and whatnot. And Clyde just 8th round, 9th round, late 7th, just whew, like. And I don't blame it. That's probably where I would be comfortable taking him, if that at all. But just to see how fast this guy has fallen from what we thought he was. And it's not like they cut him. He's still attached to Mahomes. He's still part of an Andy Reid offense, and still just getting absolutely devastated in ADP right now. I don't know. Not really trying to make a point. It's just sad.
He's the only guy on the depth chart too, right? Like,
yeah,
they don't have anybody else, right? Under contract. Darrell Williams was free. McKinnon was free. Derek Gore was a restricted free agent. They literally don't have anybody else under contract, and you just the best attached to the best offense you think in the league. There's not, and you just don't want him.
I agree.
They're going to bring someone else in.
What do you think you'd do with him if you had him? You just try and sell for anything you can get. Give me that late. I'll take that 210 for Clyde. Sure, you have him.
No,
not that. Yeah, probably not that late. That's
not too late. No.
Yeah.
No,
getting ahead of myself.
I'll take that. I'll take that 112.
Sure.
I'll take that 112 for him.
Yeah. Yep.
Or can I go? Can I get the Michael Carter owner to still see that as an upgrade? Can I get the AJ Dillon owner to give me a 3rd round pick with him? That might be a way I'd be interested in going.
Who do you like in your dynasty team right now? Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Zeke Elliott?
Clyde.
Yeah.
He says depressedly.
Melancholy yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, Clyde. I mean, Zeke is fine. I mean, honestly, Zeke is a guy, like, there's another one. There's a guy I might give. There's a spot where I might go get Zeke, though, right? Like, if I were real thin at running back and could get Zeke for the 210, like he's going to go have another high RB2 year just on volume on a good offense, right? They're pot committed for one more year. So, like, if you're renting guys and you want to go a level cheaper than Fournette and Connor, I don't mind going and renting Zeke. But, like, that's 1 year and only if you're desperate kind of play. So Clyde at least offers you some upside, but no. I really think that Melvin Gordon could go in there, take that job, and be a running back 1 off the bat.
For Kansas City?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the kind of running back Andy Reid likes, is that smaller powerhouse, edge rusher, the guy who can get to the corner. That's what I
can see Sony Michel being good in that system too.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Ronald Jones. I mean, yeah.
Well, see, Ronald Jones is bad
Maybe
enough
not
in the
him.
passing game that I don't think he's a good fit there.
Yeah.
I think you have to catch the ball a little bit to take that job. But Melvin and Sony, I feel like one of those guys is going to land there. They're running out of jobs, right? And like, so if you're Melvin Gordon, so you've got the holdout option, or you got the keep yourself free till camp option. You've got the go back to Denver on a real cheap deal option. And let's just say you've got to go to Kansas City on a real cheap deal option. Don't you just take that one?
The KC option?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to align
yourself
with
there?
The ring. You got to find, where's my best place to get a ring?
And also, like, don't you think you can take that job and go put up 1,200 yards and then, like, get another $10 million deal next year, 2 for 10,
Yeah,
right?
I'd much rather be competing with 5'8" Clyde Edwards-Helaire than the house of Javonte Williams. Yeah, I totally
right.
agree.
Like, I mean, being the Devontae Freeman of this year is not the way you get yourself a big contract next year, right? It's like you go to Kansas City, go win that job. You think Atlanta brings somebody in to play with Cordero? You think they draft? It's not a good plus spot to draft someone. Mike Davis.
It's so
You think it could
awkward.
be one of these guys?
Atlanta, you just don't know what they're going to do. If they're smart, they should be tanking. And a tanking team should probably just take a mid-round running back, a fourth or fifth round guy, and then give him the rock a whole bunch. That's what I think a tanking team should do. But teams don't necessarily think that way. So maybe they, Sony jumps out at me.
Yeah.
Because he's had
right.
a
He's
big
Georgia
workload.
guy.
Yeah. Yep.
Georgia Bulldogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I can see that paired with Patterson, and then Houston is another spot. Now they're probably. I don't know if they're tanking or not, right? Like
I think Houston's trying. I think it's all about Mills. I think this team is rallying around Davis Mills, and I think Houston might be a dark horse landing spot for Breece Hall. I have the draft order up in front of me here, but I don't know.
What are they, 34?
Yeah, where's Houston picking? Yeah, 37th pick. In round 2.
37.
Maybe Breece there. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that could make sense. Or Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, and then they're picking in the 3rd round.
I think he's the best ball carrier in the draft. I mean, we'll get into running backs in a future.
Sure.
In a future pod, but
we'll cut that
there are three. There are three that I like there. There are three that I like there. So yeah, they could definitely land one of these top tier draft running backs. Or I could see Sony Michel being an interesting guy for them to bring in for 2 for 10 or 2 for 8. I don't know what he's going to get, but on the market, but that could fit them there, and I could see him wanting to go to a spot where there might still be a starting job available, because they gotta support Davis Mills, otherwise they're just tanking.
Yeah, and I think that's what you see a lot in the NFL is you see teams with a young quarterback, they want a premium elite rushing talent. I mean, Dak and Zeke came in the league at the same time. Nick Chubb and Baker at the same time. Saquon and Daniel Jones were back-to-back years. So I think if you're the Texans, as I look at this draft board, I mean, at the end of the 1st round, Tampa, Kansas City, Miami, if Breece slips by those guys, there's no one in high round 2 that would take him. And I could see Breece landing right in there at Houston at 37. I think that would fit nicely. And if he's there, they would probably jump all over it because, like I mentioned, you want to make your quarterback feel safe and give him some, someone he can have a lot of confidence in behind him at that running back position.
Yeah, I think if I were running that team, I might pay a free agent here. This might be a spot for a 1-year free agent. I don't know that I would want to go into the draft feeling compelled to spend a day 2 pick on a running back.
Yeah, maybe I'm overvaluing his talent. They have a lot of holes all over the place in Houston. Their whole defense needs revamped. They only have 1 or 2 real pass catchers on their team, so maybe not. But
I mean, I like those running backs in that spot, but I don't want to feel. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to go into the draft with Rex Burkhead as my running back 1.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And then Atlanta's sitting here at 43. That might be Breece also. Sorry, I'm looking at the draft board.
There are a lot of potential landing spots for those running backs. All right, hey, let's talk about Davante Adams.
Oh yeah, I broke that down for my take in my last video. Why don't you take it with Adams?
I mean, I think he is terrific. First of all, I just kind of love the fact that he wanted to go there. Like he wanted to leave. I don't think he even wanted to leave Green Bay and go to a good spot. I think he wanted to go to the Las Vegas Raiders and play with Derek Carr because they're BFFs.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's kind of adorable, right? Like, I mean, and it's sort of the same way Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford having breakfast every morning, has that like fun narrative quality, but then also could that translate on the field? I mean, I'm excited about this from a fantasy standpoint. I think Davante Adams loses something here, right? But doesn't lose a lot. And I think Derek Carr is a huge winner I think you could easily see him put up a top 10, back of the top 10 fantasy season. If he stays healthy, gets in some shootouts, and just gets a little touchdown luck, right? The running back happens to go down on the one, and he gets the play action touchdown the next five. A little bit of that, I can easily see him being a top 10 quarterback. Gosh, like there's a late round flyer for you in a one quarterback redraft, right?
Derek
You're gonna totally punt the position, take one very late, and then be willing to stream if that doesn't hit. There's an interesting one for me, right? Because Adams, Renfro, Waller, I think that is a heck of a trio. This really hurts Waller, who is a volume guy. This really helps Renfro, who is a complementary player and a very good one. And now he gets to complement better stuff. It might help Josh Jacobs too.
I think it helps the whole Raiders offense. The only person who stands to lose in this deal is Devontae Adams. I mean, for fantasy football purposes.
I think Darren Waller absolutely loses.
Excuse me. Yeah, and I wanted to touch on that. Waller was like the apple of Adams' eye, or was the apple of Carr's eye. Like he would, as soon as he got the ball, as soon as he got the snap from the center, he was looking at Waller. He was trying to find a way to get it to Waller. That's what we saw for the last 2 years, and that mindset is done. Yeah, Waller takes a hit for sure here. This move.
Yeah, Waller takes a hit. But yeah, I think great for Carr, solid for Renfro, solid for Jacobs. Devontae takes a hit. Aaron Rodgers. What kind of hit does this give you for him? Like, is this a redraft? We're running low on wide receivers here.
Yeah.
Is this a redraft quarterback one, even, honestly?
For Rodgers, I think so. When you think about just the talent and the money, I think the Packers are, first of all, they have 4 picks in the top, 50, I think it is. They should at least one of those has to be a receiver. Not that I expect that guy to make or break Aaron Rodgers' season, but the point is, I think the Packers are going to be heavily involved in a trade for a pass catcher, wide receiver. I'm not sure who may be available around the league, but the Packers have to be calling people up and looking to see what they could get for. I'm not sure. Maybe Julio Jones comes to town and works out for Green Bay.
No.
So you don't like that?
That's not. No, I mean, they got to do something.
Yeah.
But I don't like asking Julio to be my one. No.
Yeah.
I like agree. Julio landing somewhere where he can be a clear 2, like Indy. I think if you ask Julio to be your one, it's going to be bad for Julio and bad for the offense and all the other pieces in it. All right, to me, it's got to be we spread it around and we go get some rookies. I think the guy they should have gone and traded for, and maybe we can get to this in here, is Robert Woods. That would have been the move I would have made if I were them. You have a 6th-round pick for Robert Woods, and all it cost you is cap space for 1 year?
Yeah. Please. I love how the Titans are just even though they failed miserably trading for a veteran receiver coming off an injury in Julio, they just jump right back into that pond, feet first. They're not even scared. Okay, here we go again with Robert Woods. It's less compensation they gave up, but it's just funny to see them just fall right back into that again. I don't know. But,
I like the way that that organization builds its team. I think Robert Woods is going to be a really nice compliment. And by the way, we probably should mention Austin Hooper lands in Tennessee too.
Yeah, that's a big one. I was cutting Jeff Swaim. I was holding on to him, and now I finally freed up a roster spot because I was able to cut Jeff Swaim.
So, we saw Corey Davis be good with A.J. Brown 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I think there's every reason to. We've seen Jonnu Smith be good with Ryan Tannehill, right? So I think, A.J. Brown going into year 4, Robert Woods, and Austin Hooper. I think that's the best group of receivers by a lot that Tannehill's had to work with since he's been there. So, there is some potential for dynamism there. Now, at the same time, you've got Woods coming off an injury. You've got Henry coming off an injury. You've got Brown, who's never healthy. So there's also a risk there. So, yeah, but Woods is a guy I'll go poke around for cheap as a depth piece. What would you give for him?
For Woods, what would I sell him for?
What would you give for him?
What would I give for him? I'm not sure. I have a trade offer pending for Woods in a league we play in together. Someone is offering me Kenneth Gainwell for Robert Woods in a 5 wide receiver start league, and not sure how I feel about that. It's been pending in my box for like a week now, and I don't know what to do with it.
What about draft capital? Let's just talk about draft capital.
Where did I draft Woods? Geez.
No. What rookie pick would you give up to acquire him in a dynasty where you felt like you needed a receiver?
Oh boy. I don't know. I like that whole front half of the second round for the receivers there. So probably like
210?
210, maybe 2.8 if I'm really feeling froggy. Yeah,
I think,
right in there.
Man, I think the Woods owner, especially if they're not an instant contender, would snap that up.
Yeah, I would. I own him in a few spots. I liked him as a safe buy a few years ago, and so I have some Wood shares, and I would probably let him go for that. So
yeah, right. So yeah, if you need a wide receiver, there's one to look at.
A name I want to throw out there before we move on from these Titans pass catchers. I just want, if you're out there drafting right now, or take a look on your waiver wire, look for Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. This guy is 6'2", 200 pounds. He was his snap share ticked up nicely at the end of last season, about 70%. I'm pretty sure the coaching staff really likes this guy, and I'm not saying he's this elite physical specimen, but he's got prototypical size, and he's been involved in this offense. And I think, for what it's worth, Ryan Tannehill trusts this guy, Westbrook-Ikhine. I think he could be their starter in 3 receiver sets, and if you can get him in like the 19th round, in the 22nd round of your startup you're drafting right now, put Westbrook-Ikhine in your queue. Put him on your watch list. I think this guy could be a player, especially if Woods or someone goes down. He could see a big role. I like Westbrook-Ikhine.
That's a great call. And another name I'll mention there, if you have 2-year taxis, Dez Fitzpatrick is a guy I like there. He had some health issues last year, struggled, but this is a guy they took at 404 in the NFL draft last year, and then he had kind of a washout rookie year. But there's some room, especially if Woods misses some camp coming off the ACL. I think there's some room for him to compete with Westbrook-Ikhine. I like Westbrook-Ikhine more, but you're not going to be able to taxi him because he's a 30-year guy, I believe.
But your boy Juju signed in KC. You were calling that shot, and you nailed it. How you feeling about that?
Man, I think that is good for everything. I think that is a good landing spot for Juju. I think that is a good landing spot for Mahomes. I think that is going to open things up more for Kelsey. I think it's going to open things up more for Hill. That's nasty, man. That's.
Did you read about the terms of his contract at all? Because I was looking into that. It's like a really low base salary of like $3 million, and then it's reported as 10.5. But a big chunk of that is incentive. Yeah.
A lot of it's playing time incentive, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a ton of stat incentive, but
okay.
Yeah. So he's got to stay healthy. But they could cut him. I mean, honestly, like if he tore an ACL, they could cut him before the season starts. I love Juju. I think he's a really talented player. I think he fits a lot of what they need there. I think his skill set plays off Tyreek very nicely, right?
Yeah.
He runs a lot of find space in the zone routes, little stuff in the middle, stuff underneath. He runs those deep intermediate routes, kind of over the middle nicely. And he's not a burner. He's not going to take the top off, and you let Tyreek do that. And you can imagine lining up Juju and Kelsey in a bunch formation and just letting them run picks for each other all day, and let Mahomes find whoever doesn't, find whichever receiver's guy doesn't get through the traffic. It's going to be scary, man. It's going to be scary.
Yeah, I agree. You think there was a little
Allen
bit
Robinson.
of a with Juju? Do you think there's some vindictiveness there, like because KC burned Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh, I feel like Juju would have loved to stay the Steelers' whole career, and
I feel
they
like
didn't offer him a
Juju,
contract, so he's like, I'm going to go to KC, and we're going to knock you out of the playoffs or whatever. You think that's part of it for him?
maybe. I feel like for Juju, a lot of this has to be about reestablishing relevance and value. I mean, I don't think it's an accident that he took a 1-year deal, right?
Yeah.
I feel like at that rate, somebody probably would have offered him 3 years at that rate, but he didn't want to lock in for 3 years at that rate because he thinks he's worth more.
And he knows the receiver market's about to explode. So
yeah. So, I think taking a 1-year deal in a place where you have a high opportunity to be productive and then going back out on the receiver market, on the free agent market next year, that to me is smart. So I think he took this job in this spot for money. For next year's money, right? For stats this year, for money next year. That's my guess. But sticking it to Pittsburgh, I think he would be happy with.
But we can move on to Allen Robinson. He signed at the Rams. Where you at with him? Are you buying him? You selling him? You drafting him at all?
I'm selling. I'm selling on the news.
Yeah. Yep. I feel that.
Yep. Selling on the news. Don't believe. I don't believe. I also still think they're gonna maybe get OBJ done. I don't think it's a guarantee that he beats out Van Jefferson.
That was what I was going to ask you. Is what does this do to Van Jefferson? I was curious. Yeah.
I mean, it's 3 wide receivers all the time. It's fine now, right? But if they sign OBJ, then it's 4. I mean, they're going to keep adding assets. They're going to throw the football a lot, right? So I just don't think I believe in Allen Robinson anymore, man.
I just looking at his career arc, like the roller coaster of this guy's career. I mean, he played 10 games his rookie season, wide receiver 64, and then he comes out in 2015 as a 23-year-old or whatever, and he's the wide receiver 6 PPR. Then all of a sudden,
I won
3 consecutive
so many
seasons
that year.
Yeah. Oh, with Robinson.
Oh yeah, he was my. I remember that he was. He was the first guy I was like, oh, this is my sleeper. He's going to be a target hog, absolute hog. I got him everywhere, and it absolutely hit, and I won just all my leagues that year.
That's awesome. That's a good anecdote. I didn't know that. But you look after that wide receiver 6 season, 3 seasons outside of the top 24. Changes teams to Chicago, where he finishes as wide receiver 40 his first year, and then 2 top 10 seasons out of nowhere, and then now he's regressed back to wide receiver 81 from last season. This is just incredible volatility from Allen Robinson. I'm going to take a different approach. I would be willing to sell him in a trade, but if I have him, I'm comfortable with him right now. I'm excited to see what this guy can do with Stafford. You're right, it is 3 wide receiver sets all the time, and this guy who's produced on the field before, he's got prototypical size. I think he's a consummate pro. When you talk about Stafford and Kupp sitting down to lunch or breakfast together, maybe Allen Robinson's joining them. Most days of the week. I think you could see that. I might like Van Jefferson more for my Dynasty team. In fact, I do. I would rather have Van on my Dynasty team than Robinson. But Robinson could produce. He could have a low-end wide receiver 2 season ahead of him here. I don't think that's out of the range of outcomes at all.
I don't think it's out of the range of outcomes. I just I think this news is going to do more for his value than is merited. And so if I owned any shares, which I don't, I'd be selling them now. I sold my Robinson shares last offseason, which ended up being a good thing. But yeah, I sold my Robinson shares last year. I don't know, man. I just yes, there is potential. I'm a little scared. I'd sell on this news if I still owned him. But at the same time, if I still owned him, I'd be very happy with the landing spot, both for the potential to sell, but also for the potential to recover the play.
Next guy, a sneaky signing this week, but Jamison Crowder. Sign him with the Bills. A 4-year salary, a $4 million salary he's getting to play what I imagine is stepping right into the Cole Beasley role. How do you feel about this?
Yeah. If you're in a deep PPR, go get him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm right there.
Yep. If you're in a deep PPR, full PPR, like this is a guy who could easily have a lot of catches, and it's only 700 yards and 4 touchdowns. And so even in a half PPR, that's meh. Better be real deep. But in full PPR, absolutely, this is a guy who could get you 80 catches and put up a wide receiver 3 season. And he's even got a little bit more after the catch than Beasley had. So, and he's younger. So yeah, I'm definitely interested for the price, which is near free.
Do you think this signing means good things for Gabe Davis in that the Bills may not be looking to draft a receiver now? Is that a narrative or no? Yeah. Okay.
So yes, I was a Gabe Davis buyer. I'm hard in on Gabe Davis. So I will just preface this with that. I drafted a bunch of Gabe Davis shares. I taxied him. I held him. I acquired him on waivers. I traded for him. I've got him in a lot of places. So I'm a little biased here, right? But to me, Gabe Davis is a guy who has 13 regular season touchdowns on 125 targets. That's a really good touchdown rate.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's good.
Really good.
It sure is.
Per target. And that's per target, right? He's got 13 touchdowns on 70 catches.
His yards per catch is way up there. Yeah.
And he's got 5 postseason touchdowns in, I believe, 3 postseason games, right? So in what is this, 35 games, he's got 18 NFL touchdowns, 35 regular regular and postseason NFL games. He's got 18 touchdowns in 2 NFL seasons. As a guy who is not getting regular snap share, he's got 18 NFL regular and postseason touchdowns. Right? This is guy. I just think you're the way you win Super Bowls is you hit on some guys for cheap somewhere, and if you hit on a guy for cheap and then you go replace him in the second round, that's how you snatch defeat from the jaws of victory to me, right?
Yeah.
Go address some other positions. Gabriel Davis is going to be really good. He's he's a dominant athlete, I think. I mean, the size speed combo. He's a contested catch guy. He's a run after catch guy. He's a red zone target. Just throw it up, jump ball. I see no reason they should do anything like this. So this just confirms what I thought. Yeah, it's a good situation for Gabe Davis. It's a good situation for Crowder. If you were one of those people who snatched up Isaiah McKenzie, that might not be so good for you.
Yeah, I've got him, and he's probably going to go soon. It's about to be a roster spot again.
I want to throw Byron Pringle's name onto the pile here.
Sure.
There's a guy you can get for free who I think is going to... Right now, he's the starter in Chicago, opposite Mooney. Mooney has shown more than Pringle, but he's also got no draft capital, right? So, I mean... Pringle has every path to play. I think he is a good player. I think he looked good last year in Kansas City. Toward the end of the season, I think he finally started to figure out how to be a good player. He's always been a good athlete. That's why Kansas City taxi squatted him a couple of years and then brought him along as a special teamer because he is a good athlete. He's just turned 28. So he's in the prime of his career. I think for free in deep leagues, this is a guy I'm adding everywhere, right? Wherever he's on waivers, I'm going and adding him.
He probably will be on waivers in a lot of your leagues, or
just about everywhere, right?
Probably get him for about a 4th round pick in a trade right now,
if that, right?
Yeah,
so that's you need to stock up on these guys because buying depth in season when you need it is expensive, and buying depth pieces now cheap is how you get that depth without overpaying for it, right? So this is a guy I'm very interested in. And then also Chicago was a spot that could draft a receiver, right? But then like you draft a receiver, maybe he takes a year or two to develop, and so maybe there's an opportunity here for a year or two for Pringle. So I like that. What's Atlanta doing at wide receiver?
What is Atlanta doing? Again, man, I don't know what to do with Atlanta as a whole. This is a case where I wish they would just sanction tanking. They would just allow it. You know, they should, whatever. That's for another video. But I think Atlanta's in tank mode, and with that in mind, I mean, they draft some receivers and see what they got. You know, it's Olamide Zacchaeus. It's someone like a Sky Moore or someone they take in like the third round. I don't know. And then they just roll it. I think it's interesting for Pitts' sake. Like you saw a few years ago with Andrews, where you can see an offense that doesn't really have a lot going on through the air can still have their tight end be a monster for fantasy, and that might be what we see with Atlanta, where yeah they are like league low in passing yards, but still Pitts has a tight end one season. So,
Yeah, no, you could definitely see that if they score any points. They got to get somebody in there.
they need help. They need help. You know, Julio Jones. Probably not. Yeah.
It doesn't. It's not crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's not crazy.
Who's the best free agent wide receiver right now? I mean, Will Fuller.
OBJ.
Yeah. He's not going to really. I don't think he's going to play much though, so that would make sense to sign him. Like who would make sense for them to sign?
The best guy for them there is. I mean, but
who even wants to go there? I just headache,
Jarvis
man.
Landry. Jarvis Landry is the best wide receiver who is currently available.
Yes.
Who does not have massive injury concerns. Now there, and by the way, there's a guy who has been a wide receiver one on a bad team before too.
Landry. I love the talent with Landry. If Landry were 3 or 4 inches taller, he might be a Hall of Famer. He's awesome. He's just always had like. I feel like his ceiling has always been capped by his size, but boy, the hands, the work ethic, the attitude, just the talent with the ball in his hands, it is all there. Yep.
I imagine the Packers will call Jarvis Landry.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense, especially because Tanyan's probably not going to be ready for the start of the season. They need someone that can work that middle of the field.
Yeah, they can't be going and trying OBJ. Julio doesn't work.
He's played on a lot of bad teams too. He's got to be looking for a ring type deal, Jarvis.
Yeah. Although there are rumors that Landry and Will Fuller could be both or either headed to Cleveland. What do you think about that?
I'm hoping this, like we talk about a Brady-like effect where guys are willing to take less to play with Watson. I'm really hoping that starts to show itself with like a Fuller or Landry. I'd love to have either of them. I mean, my Donovan Peoples-Jones shares wouldn't like that, but I think Fuller should be willing to take a darn near vet minimum contract to come and play in Cleveland. I mean, it's his boy. He's got a checkered past with concerns over his the PED thing and injuries. Like, Fuller needs to come out there and just put 16 games down and put up 1,000 receiving yards. That's what he needs to go do right now. And I don't know. I love it for the Browns if they get him, but it's all about price. I don't want them to overpay to get Will Fuller. I hope they do not do that.
Yeah, and you could see Landry back there, although I do think Green Bay makes an even better spot there for Landry. I do think OBJ probably goes back to the Rams at the end of the day.
Yeah, same.
Although, gosh, you could see him going a lot of different places. He's going to go somewhere good, somewhere where they've got a quarterback and they might need a weapon to come in late in the season for them. Like I could see him taking a 1-year deal in Tampa too, or Dallas. There's a spot where you could imagine late in the season they need a spark, so they might pay him. I don't know. MVS probably back to the Packers.
I'm thinking so. I mean, they can't afford not to. They need him. I mean, AJ Green, maybe he's going to Green Bay. Eh, I don't know. Sammy Watkins in Green Bay. Eh. Just
They should really sign Jarvis Landry. They should really overpay for Jarvis Landry.
They should, and they should go trade first. I mean, when I think about trade, like Robbie Anderson is the first name that comes to mind when trading for a receiver. I mean,
that is a very interesting name out there. Corey Davis.
Yeah, the Jets should be willing to start amassing some capital, but at the same time, they want to support their guy, so they don't want to be taking his pieces away.
The Jets have 4 picks in the top 40.
So they can replace. They could reload. With
yeah. The Jets have 4 picks in the top 40. They signed 2 big tight ends. They got Elijah Moore. They probably want to give Denzel Mims some reps. So I could easily. They just signed Braxton Berrios. Corey Davis actually could make a lot of sense
for Green Bay.
Green Bay's got to do something.
They
what
have
about New
to.
England? New England's got to do something.
At their pass catcher?
Yeah.
I agree. Nelson Aguilar experiment fizzled. Jacoby Myers is interesting, but you can't expect
Isn't
a lot
he
from
free?
him. Is he free? I thought they tendered him or something. I have no idea.
You know what? I think RFA tender or something like that. But yeah, I mean, he's just a slot guy. Surely they have to do something.
I've always loved Kendrick Bourne, even going back to his first few days in San Francisco. I just thought he was a baller, a gamer, and we started to see him emerge a little bit. But he's not. He's a 2 at best for your team. He's not a 1. I think guys like Treylon Burks have been linked to New England pretty heavily. That they're going to take 1 in the first round.
Oh, so okay. So N'Keal Harry, we're going to do that again.
It would be a rough comparison there. I agree.
I'm not. We're going to go take 1 in the first round again. I mean, what?
I just had a trade complete live on the air. I sent Mitch Trubisky, Gerald Everett, and Rashad Penny away, and I received the 107 rookie pick this year.
That's
pretty good for me.
Win.
Yeah,
that's a win.
Like that.
Mitch Trubisky, Rashad Penny,
and Everett.
And Gerald Everett.
Yeah, no tight end premium. It's not a premium there.
That's a big win.
I think so. Big. I like that. I'm down for that. Heck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super flex, I assume, right?
Also, yeah, it is super flex. And also, I'm in hard tank. I'm in big tank mode here for this team.
Yeah,
so
nothing wrong with that.
To get rid of those points and get that pick, I'm in on that.
Gerald Everett or Hayden Hurst in a redraft.
Oh boy, don't you put that evil on me.
It's a 2 tight end. It's a 2 tight end redraft, right? You just need a tight end 2.
Mm-hmm.
You like Hayden Hurst or Gerald Everett?
Right now. Give me Hayden Hurst. I think I like the. Geez, it's tough though, and it's super close. But I think Hurst is locked in as far as the tight end 1. I like Sample, sure, but with the Chargers, they've heavily incorporated multiple tight end sets, heavily, and to some degree, Parham has earned his shares of targets in the red zone, where they're going to keep looking to him just with what he's done in the past. Hurst. I like it. I think it could be a thing. We saw him, I think, run the most routes in the league at tight end. Was it like 2 years ago?
Yep.
So teams, when you bring in Hayden Hurst, you view him as a pass catcher. Teams have to. So
he's a good blocker though too. He's a nice 2-way player. So yeah, I actually think that's a decent signing for Joe Mixon too, right? When they put Hurst and Sample on the field, they're going to be bullying people. Especially with some, they're going to invest in that offensive line this offseason. Is it weird to you that Gronk hasn't signed yet?
No, it isn't, because I think he just doesn't want to do the whole rigmarole of the offseason, maybe not, but I don't know, maybe he just waits to sign late till like late July when training camp's winding down, because he doesn't want to go through all that stuff. He knows the system. He knows as soon as he signs, he's the one.
There's no chance he's going to go somewhere else for money, is there?
I would say no. I mean, but who's going to pay him that much? He stands to make what, like $7 or $8 million. Someone else would have to throw like 10, 12 million for him. Rob Gronkowski has famously never cashed a game check in his career. He just has all of them he's ever made in one account. So I can't imagine money's a factor. There's no way. There's no way he plays for anyone else but the Bucs. There's no way. He'll come out. I think he'll sign. What do you think? You think I'm wrong?
I mean, I think he'll sign.
Yeah.
I think it's a little weird that he hasn't so far.
Yeah, sure.
You grabbing Cameron Brate just in case?
I see him being picked up on a lot of waiver wires, and yeah, I would. I've been a little slow to the party to pick him up, but I think that's a safe ad. I like that.
And then you just drop him if Gronk comes on board and you need the roster spot. But
yeah, Brady starting tight end will be valuable for sure for fantasy. So
if Gronk does not play, Brady is a legitimate back in tight end one, right? Like
I think so. I think that's fair.
Contender at least.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You would consider him in the conversation with Mike Gesicki or somebody like that, maybe, or Noah Fant. Yeah. What about the two Jets signings? They spent a good deal of money on those guys. Who do you think catches passes between Conklin and Uzomah?
Give me Uzomah, the guy who's at least done it. Been a starting tight end in the league for multiple seasons. Conklin was fine. He was an interesting story last year, but really came out of nowhere, and I expect that's where he will return. I would take Uzomah easily here.
Okay. Does the departure of Conklin make Irv Smith a sleeper?
I have him stashed, Irv, in a few leagues, and I hope so. I feel like Irv flashed a little bit when he was on the field his rookie season, and
yeah. I mean, they invested in him. He had a good profile. Mm-hmm. I think the best remaining free agent tight end is Kyle Rudolph. Are there any landing spots where he could be a tight end too in your two tight end leagues?
Kyle Rudolph. Geez, nothing's jumping out in my mind right now. Houston. Are they in love with Brevin Jordan? Probably not, though. Probably not.
Probably
if he
no.
goes there. I mean,
no. Chargers were maybe the last one.
Yeah, that's such a boring signing for the Chargers, man. Whoever, and I don't even think Everett's their locked and loaded one. I think you could still see Parham be their tight end one there.
You could still see McKinney.
Yeah, and that's just such a headache. It sucks because Herbert likes his tight end. Hunter Henry had a great season there in Herbert's rookie year, and yeah, whoever Herbert's long-term tight end is going to be very relevant for fantasy, and it sucks we don't know who that is yet. I wish they had made this easier on us, the Chargers brass.
Yeah, they really did not.
Yeah, this is just it was a 2-dog headache, and now it's a 3-dog headache, and then Steven Anderson is just kind of, watching from the sideline. Who knows what happens with that?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Watch Jared Cook come back in training camp.
There you go. He's not even off the table either. I mean, that's 5 guys we're talking about now.
Right. All right. So let's talk about the quarterback landscape here. It seems to me that there are 30 locked-in starters right now, and then you've got Seattle, and you've got Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Drew Lock, Sam Darnold, pencil starters right now. And then those spots could be going to Baker Mayfield, Jimmy Garoppolo, a rookie, or they could just tank it out with Lock/Darnold. Right?
Yeah.
Is that where we stand now?
Yeah. The Jimmy thing. I think what we're going to see with Jimmy and Lance and the Niners is I think we're not going to see Jimmy moved until. I think we're not going to see him moved, and Jimmy's going to be the starter, the first guy on their list of depth chart on the website or whatever, until like the end of preseason week 3, and then Kyle Shanahan will just come out and say Lance is the starter now, and I think that's the kind of headache we're in for. I'm gonna get out ahead of it and prepare you for that, so you don't get scared. Not you, but our listener. That's what I'm projecting to happen here. Is Jimmy remains a Niner, and we don't have any clarity until like the week of the season starts, till week 1.
Yeah, so that's what I've been starting to think. To me, I think Baker is more likely to get a job than Garoppolo because he's not injured.
Yep, he's cheaper.
He's not injured, and I think he has more upside, though a lower floor. So I do think Baker will probably land, and then I think Jimmy's going to go back, and I think he might just take the job from Lance. Honestly, I sold all my Lance shares this week.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah.
I've been seeing him move around more. Yeah.
I turned both my Lance shares into Lawrence shares.
Love it. Love it.
I'm just getting scared about that situation. I'm not. I'm still in on Lawrence, so that's what I did. Turned both my Lance shares into Lawrence shares.
Yeah, most of my places where I own Lance are pretty insulated. Where if I had to punt a season, I could. I have other quarterback options. None of my Lance ownership is. I own him 5 times across 20 leagues, and there's not a lot of pressure.
Would you poke at
on
Fields
Lance.
though? Maybe poke at Fields.
I've never been in love with Fields. Is that bad of me? Is that?
I like Fields more than Lance, and always have.
That's fair.
I only took Lance where Fields was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my thinking last year.
Fields was my fade out of the quarterback class last year. Like if you had to pick one to fade, it was Fields for me, and that's.
Yeah. No, I honestly I wasn't fading any of them. I like that class a lot.
Yeah.
And I remain in on all 5 guys. To be honest, we talked about Zach Wilson last week. I remain in on Mac Jones. I remain in on Lawrence. I'm a little worried about Trey Lance of all 5 of them. I'm a little worried that Jimmy just takes that job. What if he does take that job? And what if they make the playoffs again? I mean, like,
what if they win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo? Yeah, it could happen.
I mean,
the team's loaded.
Path.
Yeah.
And what if Trey Lance is not good? Right?
Yeah.
Like where did he play? North Dakota. Right?
North Dakota State, and he didn't play a game for a whole season before being drafted. Or they played like 4 games or whatever before that season was cut short. So.
Right. And then he couldn't get on the field last year.
Mm-hmm. He's young, man. He's crazy young. I think he was when his name was called. I think he was 20 years old on the draft board. So,
he scares me a little bit.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So where does Baker land? Seattle or Carolina?
Baker. I keep thinking he's going to be cut, and I guess they can't do that because they need someone to take on all those guarantees in his contract. So maybe that doesn't happen.
Right.
Where does Baker land? I mean, it has to be Seattle because Dorsey, right? That's the guy who drafted him. I mean, I don't see any other path.
I mean, no, it could be Carolina. Carolina could. If there are people in Carolina, you look at a team like Carolina, and you're like, oh, they need to tank, right? But it's like the people in Carolina will get fired if they lose that many games this year.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where these teams get themselves into bad situations. This, to some extent, is why you need to be a little aggressive in firing bad front offices and bad coaches.
I agree with you. Yep.
Like, they will push their chips in to win now, right? Like, anyway. But I could see Carolina just deciding, if we roll it out here with Sam Darnold and the rookie, we're all going to be fired. And even if the rookie ends up being good in 3 years, it's not going to do any of us any good.
If I'm Carolina, I'm not messing with Mayfield. Yeah, I don't think he represents a tangible upgrade over Sam Darnold. Is that crazy? Versus Seattle with Locke. Insane. Okay, all right, okay. But
honestly, I think Drew Lock is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold right now. I think Sam Darnold's head is broken right now.
No, that's fair. All right.
I think Sam Darnold, he's got such a big arm.
Carolina also picks higher than Seattle, so the pressure's on Seattle to make a move if they want to. I would say Carolina is much more likely to take a quarterback at 6 than they are to trade for Baker Mayfield, in my mind.
But I think he could still land in either of those. Is my take. I think he lands in one of those spots.
And then
Seattle makes the most sense.
Is Cam under contract? I mean, are we talking about a situation where they might have 4 starting-ish caliber quarterbacks on their roster all at once?
No.
Cam's a free agent right now. Yeah.
Yeah. No. He signed a 1-year deal, or end of year deal, prorated 1-year deal.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's say Baker goes to Seattle. Does that move the needle for you? He a top 15 quarterback?
No. I don't think so.
Really?
I don't see it, man. I've been watching Baker for a long time.
What about 2020 when they went 11-5?
Yeah, I mean, that was a great team. I just think Seattle's O-line is not what the Browns was, and that's my problem.
No, it's not. But I mean, like, what did you think of that? What did you think of his play 2 years ago when they went 11-5 and were the number 2 seed?
I thought he played very well. He was delivering the ball accurately. He's moving around, but it's
So, do you not think that's the real Baker? And last year was a product of injuries and other stuff.
every time I look at Mayfield on the field, I just always think of his limited physicality. And I struggle to see fantasy upside with him where I once did, just because he can't run, man. He's just not fast, and he's small.
So
and
what?
He gets thrown down. I don't know.
So what?
I want him to be Drew Brees. I just feel like that ship has sailed.
No, he's not going to be. Of course, that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
But could he be Derek Carr?
If he focuses up, he's just had too much hate in his heart. I feel like Carr is such a leader. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm poisoned by Mayfield. I've been too close to him, too close to the sun with him for too long now.
Andy Dalton.
What about him?
I mean,
where's he going?
No, I mean, could he?
Could he be Andy Dalton? Yeah. Yes, he could be Andy Dalton.
Okay, well, I mean, Andy Dalton was a 10-year asset in Superflex, right? So I think, and for a good deal of time, he was a top half of the league quarterback. I think that's where I think there's still good reason to believe Baker Mayfield is a top 18 quarterback in the league for the next 5 years. So I think somebody's gonna.
That's a stretch to me. I'm sorry. A little. It's rough, man. It's rough for him, and then the quarterbacks at the top are good, and I just don't.
Yeah, but they run out at like 12.
Yeah. Okay.
And then like 14, and then you're like, okay, do you like Goff? Do you like Jameis?
I mean, who do you want on your real NFL franchise? Would you rather have Baker Mayfield or Mac Jones?
Mac Jones.
Okay. I don't know what that means. I just threw that out there.
But Mac Jones to me is like very Derek Carr.
Yeah.
But I feel very safe with Mac Jones and the age and the length of time. I don't know if I would rather have Mac Jones for 1 year, to be honest.
You rather Baker maybe for the upcoming season?
Yeah,
than what Mac put on the field
I don't know that Baker has the upside to justify the 4 extra years and the money.
Yeah.
So I'll take Mac Jones on his rookie contract at his age, but I don't think. I mean, these rookie quarterbacks from last year are going to have to actually develop before they're better than Baker Mayfield. I think Mac Jones is the only one who is competitive with Baker Mayfield right now, right? Like, he's better than all of those guys. He's better than Lawrence.
Absolutely.
He's better than Fields. He's better than. Will he be in by October? I don't know. But I don't know. But I think Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo, probably.
But I would take Jimmy's personality, and he just gets so much more support from his teammates. I don't know. You don't know these guys personally, so it's hard to say. But it just seems like teams rally around Jimmy more than I've ever seen them rally around Baker.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's close. It's a fine line. It's what you want.
I mean, clearly there's something, right? Because Wentz is another guy who. I mean, people are like, oh gosh, he's such a disaster. Can you believe they traded 2 third-round picks for Wentz? And it's like, you actually look at the numbers. It's like 27 touchdowns against 6 interceptions last year, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with the overall quality of season he had. He bombed at a key moment, but they moved on from him because of behind-the-scenes stuff. And then you start hearing the stuff about how Darren Sproles wanted to whip his ass back in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, all right, okay, so there is some stuff behind the scenes. I don't know. Baker, maybe, but I hate to fade a guy in fantasy because of rumors that he is a jerk behind the scenes. I don't know.
I just don't think he has the upside to
deal with being a jerk.
Like you say, you don't want to fade him because of that. Oh, sure, okay, but okay, you didn't fade him. Now what are you getting? You're not. I feel like you're not getting that much. I don't know. We're getting near the end of it here.
Yeah.
I think we gotta. What else is on your mind? Any closing thoughts you want to leave our viewers with? 'Cause we're pretty long in the tooth right now.
We are definitely on the long side. So do you want to save quarterback? I've got a little thing here with some quarterback prospects. Do you want to run through them, or the top quarterbacks, or do you want to save that for a
I
future?
want to, but I just can't. I have to, for my own sake. I got to get off here, unfortunately.
All right. So let me ask you one. So let me ask you this one dilemma I've got here.
Yeah.
So I've got Kelsey in the Dynasty League.
Okay.
And it's clear it's a one tight end premium. He's 32 years old. It's time to move out, right? I've been trying to cycle out some of my older players in that league.
Time to move out. Yeah, it's funny.
Right? It's time to get something for him, right? Well, the other competitive teams are the Pitts team, the Andrews team. They don't want me to package Kelsey in a pick.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Kittle team and the Waller team, and they see that as a sideways trade. And then there's an old team that's got Gronk and no young pieces I want.
That's the guy. That's the guy you got to strike with, I think.
He's got no pieces.
Okay. All right. Hey.
He's got no first for 2 years.
All right.
He's got no young pieces.
What do you do? Yeah.
And the rebuilders don't want him. What do you do with a guy like? Do you just say you're dying on my team, and that's your value is going to die in my roster, or do you is there a way to get a deal done on a guy like that?
I think the best time to strike is within the confines of your rookie draft. I think while people are on the clock and that draft is moving along, usually the whole league is active. Like this time of year, you might have 3 or 4 guys in the league that aren't even looking at their app,
Right.
So, once the first few rookies start flying off the clock, your whole league's going to be logged in. And then you link them on the block. You DM some people. Maybe you send out some flyer offers. And that's the way I would attack it, is you just got to kind of hold them right now. And there's a lot of teams that are going to say, oh, I wasn't feeling competitive, but the rookie draft went so well where I feel good. And maybe that's someone you can send Kelsey to.
There you go.
That's how I'd play it. Is
there you go. Or you wait for somebody to feel competitive during or after, and then you could try to get a 23 pick for him. Kelsey in a 23 second for a 23 first. I don't know.
No, that would be good. Kelsey and a 23 second for a 23 first. You could probably just move Kelsey for that 23 first straight up.
I cannot.
I think you should be able to. You should be able to.
Well, I can't.
I'm sorry. That sucks.
This is my question. It's like, what do you do with players when you can't get what you should get for them?
I sold Kelsey I don't know, this doesn't help you. I sold Kelsey a few weeks ago in a 2 tight end TEP league for 2 23 first. Like I had 2 of them, and I was able to make a 2-for-1 swap on Kelsey. So I feel great about that.
Well, that's insane.
Yeah, no, it wasn't insane. I'm stoked about it. But what do you?
This is the one. That's a 2 tight end league. So in a 2 tight end league, I could call the Andrews. I could message the Andrews on, and he's still got space, right? But in a one. So I just cannot get anybody on the hook for a guy like this. But I've got other leagues where it's a Dalvin Cook or it's an Alvin Kamara. What do you do with an old guy where you just cannot generate interest? And I think your answer was good. You wait till the draft.
Within the rookie draft is of the entire offseason, that week-long slow rookie draft you do or whatever is going to be the most active time in your league, where everyone's at the table, everyone's looking at their team, and thinking about the upcoming season. So if you're struggling to move players, don't force it now. Don't take less right now. Just wait for that week in May or June, and that's your sell.
There you go. Well, all right, man.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Maybe we can get the second record this week and do 20 minutes. Really cut it down to 20 minutes and do the rookie quarterbacks.
We'll do more. Guys at home, we will break down rookies. I want to do a rookie mock. I want to get 10 friends in here with me and Greg, and I want to do a rookie mock recorded. Maybe we'll even do 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
We'll run down some rookie rankings. I want to get a nice, solid, multiple first channel rookie rankings pre-NFL draft. I think it's really important to have those guys ranked pre-draft, so then you know how to adjust them post-landing spots and post-capital. So that's coming. But
I agree.
If you learned anything today, if you enjoyed the conversation, if you stayed with us, thank you. Hit the subscribe button. Leave me a comment. Talk about, whatever. Anything you want to touch on. Any of the guys we touched on. But hit the subscribe, and you are a first-round pick. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys.